Chapter 9. Across the Plains. Fina felt a chill rush over her as she stepped away from the shelter of the city walls. The first light of dawn pierced the mist, casting a hazy glow around Lily and making her silhouette almost angelic. Fina stared in awe at her friend. She had gathered with Haldor, Pior, and Lily beyond the city's towering gate. Even the grass underfoot seemed to shiver, its surface crusted with a brittle layer of frost. The city's warmth was confined inside its walls, held captive by the stone fortifications. The absence of guards struck her, a peculiar emptiness she attributed to Ghalen's influence. Where could that boy be? She wondered aloud, rubbing her hands briskly together in the chill.
Show some respect. He's still your king.
Haldor snapped, though gently. Fina grinned. All right. Where is our beloved boy king? Her words prompted a reluctant sigh from Haldor and a muffled laugh from Pior. Some nerve he's got, making me rise this ungodly hour and freeze my toes off. Her expression shifted into a frown. Ghalen arrived shortly thereafter, flanked by a tall figure. They were mounted on simple brown steeds, clad in weathered leather and cloaks of faded green that had seen many seasons.
Good morning, my friends,
Ghalen announced, his voice crisp and his eyes alert, unlike Fina's current mood. Everyone, even Fina, if reluctant, offered a formal salute and muttered, "My liege." With an outsider among them, the situation demanded it. She had heard of this ranger before, but never met her. The Gwelhir scouts had a tendency to stay out of sight, so it made sense, she supposed.
Allow me to introduce my scoutmaster, Narrated,
Ghalen said, extending his arm toward the figure beside him. Fina saw Lily's eyes widen as she met the half-elf's narrow gaze. The newcomer pulled back at her hood, revealing a fiery orange mane and long ears, almost like the delicate curves of antlers in the light of the torches. Narrated's face was adorned with green markings that glimmered like emeralds in contrast to Lily's diamond-shaped blue tattoos. The ranger's marks were almost in the shape of stars. A touch taller than the humans around them, her frame was slender but wiry. Fina took a step closer to Lily to support her. As this was the first person Lily had seen that resembled her, Fina thought it might trigger a reaction. But Narrated's eyes swept past Lily as if she was not there, and then she introduced herself with a song-like voice, one hand on her chest. Narrated Grace here at your service, lords and ladies. I shall serve as your guide. Ghalen presented them all with equally beaten cloaks, making sure that all were garbed as he was. Fina must have stared at the tattered cloak a little too long as Ghalen winked at her and added,
I picked out the dirtiest one just for you.
Ghalen pulled out a worn map, his finger tracing a winding path.
We won't be traveling as dignitaries or royals this time,
he said, eyes flickering up to the others.
If we're spotted, we can't afford to be recognized. My power does not reach to the south any longer. We are not safe there.
Fina frowned as she glanced at the city gates behind them. The thought of slipping past watchful eyes without the security of their usual entourage made her uneasy. An army might offer strength, but it would move like molasses through this terrain, and their titles, gleaming in the open, would attract attention like moths to a flame. Trouble that 3 soldiers couldn't hope to fend off.
So, we'll be going as travelers,
Ghalen continued, pulling a weathered cloak tighter around himself. He gestured toward Haldor.
You'll be the merchant, heading to Gwelhir for wine with your business partner, Fina, who will be distributing goods in Keld. Pior and I will be your hired muscle,
he added, clapping Pior on the back with a wry grin.
And Narrated and Lily, our guides from Gwelhir, here to lead us through the unfamiliar terrain.
Lily's forest green cloak barely hid her unease. Ghalen looked at her.
We will have to try and pass you as a Gwelhir elf. I don't have a better plan.
He straightened up, rolling the map back into his pack with a decisive snap.
Let us be off then.
Rearing his mount, he announced,
Haste must be on our side if we hope to save the kingdom.
And with that, they set off. Cresting the hill that had previously unveiled the comforting sight of their city, the breaking dawn now revealed the vast road ahead, stretching into the great fields surrounding Hyfara. As the darkness gave way to the full-fledged spring morning, the sun drove the dew from the grass, warmed the air to a gentle embrace. Fina struggled to keep her eyes open atop her mare, a creature she did not have much love for. Mares, with their headstrong and often volatile temperaments, were not Fina's favored choice. Ghalen had teased her as he handed over the reins.
It will be good practice. She mirrors your own fiery spirit.
She had always dismissed his jests with a roll of her eyes. He did not understand. It was not animosity toward the creatures. She had simply a soft side for the steadfast nature of geldings. Her gaze drifted to Lily, who held Alara's reins as if they were a lifeline. Despite Fina's efforts to teach her basic riding skills during their urban travels, Lily's talent in the saddle left much to the desired when riding cross-country. Fina chuckled softly. She needs to grasp this faster. Ghalen won't let us dawdle for long. Drawing her horse closer to Lily, she readied herself to dispense more equestrian wisdom. Their path was set. Southward on the main road to Gwelhir, the ancestral domain of the half-elves and the birthplace of Narrated. The route was dictated by the war with the Elgric, which raged on for 2 fronts. Ilskar's northwestern border, where Lily had been captured, received the brunt of the attacks, and the western border with Arania was under siege. However, for unknown reasons, the southwestern border with Gwelhir had been left untouched. Ghalen was the only one amongst the humans to have visited Gwelhir, but that had been a formal trip when he was much younger, so he had not risked navigating the journey himself. They had heard cheerful tales about the forests, and Narrated was eager to share the beauty of her homeland with her new companions. As they rode beneath the sun, she hummed a lively tune and drew a fiery red leaf from her cloak. Its veins shimmered like crimson embers, very different from the green leaves around them. Holding it aloft, she spun towards Fina, her eyes alight with infectious delight. "Do you see how this leaf defies the season? Always aflame, even in the coldest depths of winter." She twirled the leaf between her fingers, the red shifting into a kaleidoscope of colors under the sunlight. "My homeland is filled with such wonders, waiting to be explored." Fina couldn't help but raise an eyebrow. Narrated's constant rambles and laughter bordered on the excessive. Was she genuinely this way? Or was it all an elaborate performance? She stole a glance at Ghalen. He shrugged, a faint smile playing on his lips.
Narrated's one of a kind,
he admitted when the ranger was out of earshot.
But her heart is true.
Fina shook her head. If it was a show, it was an odd choice of facade to adopt. Ghalen sure knows how to pick them. She glanced over the party. Not one sane among them, including me, she chuckled. The horses rode steadily over the softening ground. Here and there, tiny wildflowers across the open fields. Dots of blue and gold scattered in the rolling green. Fina's gaze drifted lazily over the landscape until it snagged on a weathered wooden sign leaning by the roadside. The name carved into the wood stirred a memory. It had been a quaint place, where barefoot children had raced, laughing through the streets, and neighbors had hung laundry between the houses like festival banners. She remembered the villagers who had come to her then, bent by a harsh cough that had worked its way through every household. She stayed for days, sleeping in the warm loft of the bakery, dozing the sick and smiling as they recovered one by one. Her chest ached with the memory. She could no longer visit the villages now. Not anymore. Not with the burden of her new station pressing against her shoulders. The high seat did not lend itself to wandering into small villages, offering simple help to simple folk. Her duty lay elsewhere now, chained to the councils and courts in the heavy wheels of war. Her fingers tightened on the reins. A flash of longing rose in her, sharp and sudden. She wanted a glass of wine, cold and sweet against her tongue, smoothing the edges of her thoughts. She told herself she did not need it. It was no weakness, merely a salve like any other. A shield against the darkness that crept through her mind when she closed her eyes, bringing with it the sights and smells of the temple halls thick with blood and the broken bodies of those who had survived the first brutal days of the war. The memories clawed at the back of her mind. Fina lifted her chin and forced herself to look away from the sign, fixing her eyes instead on the road ahead where the grasses bent and danced in the soft, forgiving wind. Fina noticed Lily finding some stability in the saddle, her posture easing as she began to truly take in the green expanses of Arania. Paior rode beside her, pointing out sights and sharing tales of the land. Narrated, with her map in hand, led the way, pausing occasionally to study their path, ensuring they kept to the less traveled roads and steered clear of any guard outpost. Their journey was carefully planned to avoid unnecessary encounters. Fina felt a twinge of shame. She already missed the bustle of the city life, her luxurious baths, and the indulgent taste of fine wines. Having only a few days back to enjoy them made it all the harder to leave again. The sun dipped behind the hills. They found a small clearing shielded by trees and decided to make camp. Narrated quickly took the lead, showing them where to set up, her familiarity with the wilderness evident as she gathered wood and arranged stones for a fire. Fina stretched out her sore back with a dramatic sigh. I can already feel my back aching from the forest you will force me to sleep in, even before we make it to them. Is this how you treat a lady? She mused, trying to keep a playful edge to her voice. A forest need not be unpleasant, Lady Fina. Just you wait until you see my home. You may long for the peace of the trees from the windows of your castle, Narrated replied, her eyes glinting with quiet confidence of someone who had spent her life among the woods. Haldor and Pyre exchanged a skeptical glance, their expressions betraying a healthy dose of doubt. Fina raised an eyebrow, humoring Narrated. I look forward to it, Narrated, though I've had a hard time believing it will replace the splendor of the city. We shall see, my lady, Narrated replied, her smile widening as she took up the first watch. The crackling fire cast shadows across the clearing, dancing between them as they settled into the quiet rhythm of the night. As the day came to a close on their second day, Fina felt a great deal of discomfort in the saddle. She knew she was the most experienced rider in the group and could only imagine how the others must be feeling. Crickets chirped their evening chorus, a gentle hum that rose as the sun was setting. Then Fina saw twinkling lights materialize in the distance, nestled amidst the rolling hills.
Ah, that's Gleanfield,
Ghalen exclaimed.
It's the last place we can expect a decent inn this close to the front line. We'll rest here so we and our horses can rest while the opportunity still presents itself. Remember, we are heading for Gwalior to trade wine. Keep the story straight.
Haldor cut him off.
And the wagons are parked in a clearing ahead, to not burden the horses with the hills without reason. We've got it, Ghalen. Forgive my intrusion, but if you want to keep our guys alive, a bodyguard can't be seen giving orders to his master.
He looked at Ghalen with an accusing stare. He quickly lowered his eyes.
Forgive me. Old habits, I suppose. We are in Southern Territory now. It has me on edge. I don't know what would happen if they found you with me here.
As they got closer to the elven border, Narrated's presence began to elicit a different sort of attention from farmers and commoners they passed. Not that of surprised eyes widening, but of respect. The locals treated her with a difference, referring to her as Lady Elf or Wanderer. Lily was drawing her hood tightly around her. Entering the village was like stepping into a small haven. Snug log cabins topped with thatched roofs, a quaint market square, and a modest inn at its center. The villagers acknowledged the group with brief nods and muted greetings. This was not the warmth typical of a rural welcome Fina was used to. It was replaced by an atmosphere of quiet. They must have suffered greatly from the war. They pulled up to the inn stable. A young boy with a broom eagerly approached. My name's Pin. Heard the lookout say we had riders tonight. His words faltered, wonder evident in his eyes as they settled on Narrated. An elven ranger. I didn't expect you to be among them. I promise to tend to your animals well, honored sirs and madams, he said, offering a respectful bow. Haldor extended a gold coin to the boy, and his mouth fell open. Thank you, my lord. Might I assist you with your belongings?
We'll handle our things, and we're not lords,
Haldor replied, his expression inscrutable.
That coin should ensure the best care for our horses. Ensure they are well rested. They've seen a long journey and will face another soon.
Fina was the last to slip through the doorway of the inn. She adjusted her posture and put on her modest stoic face. She had learned if she pretended hard enough, people actually believed she was a high priestess. Deep breaths. She was greeted by a wave of warmth and the comforting aroma of baked bread. Laughter and crackling flame from the grand fireplace filled the common room, casting a golden glow on worn but inviting armchairs. As she prepared for the customary bows and nods, nobody spared her more than a glance. Her lips curved into a smile as she remembered she was not a high chair of Lumar on this journey. Haldor went to the counter and presented himself as Richard Maywin. The innkeeper, a hearty and jovial fellow named Lyrium, welcomed them with open arms. "Esteemed travelers, welcome. I'm Lyrium. We are honored that your party would bless us with a visit." He gestured to one of his maids who set off to clean one of the tables. "Our village lies near the dangerous front of the war, and our offerings might be simple, but I assure you the town is safe, and a warm meal as well as a soft bed await." The scent of hearty stew filled the air, and Fina felt her stomach growling. As Lyrium detailed the modest services the village had to offer, he pointed out that things had been much better in the olden days. "I'd urge the ladies to remain near the protectors. And for the gents," he said, eyeing Pyor and Ghalen warily, "keep your blades close. Times are treacherous. The king's attention is divided by the war, leaving few to maintain order. The roads are rife with bandits and rogues." He frowned. Fina's gaze landed on Ghalen, and she'd come to see the sadness in his eyes. He would blame himself for not keeping these people safe. Just then, from the corner of her eye, Fina caught a flicker of movement. A soldier lounged near the fireplace, a mug of ale in his hand. His shield rested against the wall behind him, displaying a dual insignia. The crest of the kingdom was visible, but so too was the freshly painted mark of the independent South. Not strictly illegal, but bold and deeply taboo in a place still meant to be loyal to the crown. The soldier's lazy posture did not fool Fina. His ear was turned toward their conversation, listening. Lyrium's smile wavered as he turned to a keener eye on Ghalen. "You have the look of someone I've seen before, friend. Are you from around here?" Ghalen answered without hesitation, slipping into a rough northern accent that carried just the right hint of wary humor.
"Far from it, Master Lyrium. Grew up on a farm near Harrowby. Been swinging blades for merchants ever since the war started."
Fina blinked, quietly impressed. Galen's voice had taken on the perfect cadence of northern commoner. If she had not known better, she might have believed it herself. Lyrium seemed to weigh the response, then shrugged with a laugh. "I see. At least one of your guards looks capable," he said, nodding towards Pyor, who responded with a stiff but respectful bow. Out of the corner of her eye, Fina noticed a soldier by the fire turning back to his companion, losing interest in their group. The coil of tension in her chest loosened, though she remained wary. Lyrium's attention returned to Haldor, and the innkeeper raised one brow. "Tell me, Master Richmond, what brings a merchant this deep south during such challenging times? The roads are dangerous, and travelers, especially traders, are scarce. Haldor cleared his throat, beginning the rehearsed response he had muled over during their journey.
"Our destination is Guelhir, Master Lyram. I've recently ventured into the wine business."
The innkeeper scratched his beard, murmuring to himself before responding. "Guelhir, eh? I think twice about that route, Master. It'll lead you dangerously close to the front lines." Lyrium shuddered. Haldor offered an understanding nod.
"Risky, I concede. But consider the profit a single bottle of exquisite wine can fetch in these troubled times. Perhaps a few scars would be a small price to pay for such a reward."
Lyrium's gaze dropped to the floor. His fingers pinched his chin with such force it whitened beneath the pressure. "True. If you managed to load your wagon with those bottles, the returns would be handsome. Had I been in the prime of my youth, brimming with courage as you are, perhaps I'd have made the same gamble. But that's neither here nor there." He sighed, then spread his arms wide again in a welcoming gesture. "For now, I hope our modest establishment proves a respite you seek. May the roads ahead be kinder than the tales I spin." Fina let out a breath she had been holding. It seemed their cover would hold. For now. Once the arrangements were squared away with Lyrium, Ghalen opted for a more secluded dinner in his quarters.
"Best I remain out of sight. Even in these clothes, there's a chance I might be recognized. Rest up. Tomorrow, you venture into the lands of the elves. Enjoy your evening, but ensure you are well rested.
Fina was on her way back from her rooms when she overheard Ghalen's voice in a corridor further ahead. She crept a little closer without rounding the corner.
I would prefer that you stayed with Lily.
She heard Haldor's voice.
And I could not focus wholeheartedly on the mission if I did not know of your safety. It is less than a 2-hour ride to Quarry Mill. I will ride with you before sunrise and instruct Pior to lead them on if I do not return before noon. The quest will not be delayed by much.
A tense smile followed. Then Haldor added,
Your word is my command. If you order it, I will not follow, Ghalen.
Fina heard footsteps moving toward the stairs. Just bring him, Ghalen. It would put us all more at ease. Noticing that some of the steps were approaching her, she quietly hurried a bit further back in the hallway, then deliberately took a few loud steps as Ghalen rounded the corner. He stopped and looked back.
See you before dawn, then.
He shifted his eyes to Fina and gave her a nod.
Sleep well tonight, Fina.
Likewise, she replied, though she wanted to suggest they might share a room. She kept the thought to herself. It was something she'd once done with the prince, but things had changed now that he was king. While the food and warmth of the inn couldn't completely erase the reality of sleeping under the trees again soon, it granted Fina a brief, cherished pause. Exhausted from a grueling day of travel, from sun-up to sundown, each member of the party retreated to their quarters. Fina stared at the ceiling in the dead of night, tossing restlessly in her bed. A tug in her urged towards the open air, the warm embrace of Lumiere awaiting. Grasping a lantern to fend off the dark, she descended the inn's creaky stairs. The once lively hall stood silent now, the only inhabitants a pair of cats sprawled across tables, blissfully unaware of the world's darkness. Stepping outside, she felt the night's chill claw at her skin. It did not faze her. The cold would leave her soon enough. She made her way to the far end of the barn, where the starlight spilled generously onto an open plain stretching to the southern horizon. Setting the lantern beside her, she dropped to her knees and whispered a prayer to Lamar. Fair and bright, bless our quest. Shield my friends, and let the kingdom know peace. As if in answer, an ethereal warmth enveloped her, banishing the night's chill. It felt as though she were bathing in the heart of a summer's noon, awash in the divine glow of Lumar. Just a few minutes had passed. Then the crunch of footsteps on brittle ground shattered the serenity. A lady as fetching as yourself shouldn't be alone in the dark. A voice oozed from the shadows, emerging into meager light. A man in tattered clothes brandished a dagger in her direction. From the minor toll of those golden rings and that pouch at your side, I'd be honored to see you safely back to your inn. Agitated by her restless sleep and the disturbance of her divine connection, Fina gritted her teeth and closed her eyes. I'll offer you this one chance to let me return to my chamber, or else you'll taste the king's justice, you mongrel, she warned, struggling to maintain a veneer of civility. The man crackled and closed in. Have it your way, fool. She slid her hand towards the small carved stones hidden in her belt. Her fingers brushed them, but she froze. Using magic now would only draw the wrong kind of attention. Instead, she shifted her stance, letting the stone slip back into its pouch unnoticed. As he lunged, Fina moved faster, sidestepping his clumsy attack. She ducked low and drove the hilt of her dagger hard into his ribs. The man grunted, swinging wildly, but she twisted clear, stepping inside his guard. Her knee slammed into his groin. He doubled over with a strangled gasp. She seized a fistful of hair, yanked his head back, and pressed her dagger to his throat. I graciously accept your donation to the temple, she whispered, her breath hot against his ear. The man stood trembling, sweating as though he'd run a mile. With deft fingers, Fina unhooked the coin pouch from his belt. She delivered a swift crack of her dagger hilt to the back of his head, and he collapsed without a sound.